Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. Celtic Warband here, and thanks for tuning into another siege battle of Medieval Kingdoms 1212 AD. This is a 2 vs 2, and it takes place loosely within the 100 Years' War timeframe, so we're only using early and high period units for this battle. So I really hope you guys do enjoy, and without further ado, let's take a look at the army comps. The first attacking army on the battlefield today is the Duchy of Burgundy, a hated enemy of France during the 100 Years' War, and it is commanded by Adrian Fox, and he's got a couple units of spear sergeants, one on either flank, and the main infantry unit that he does have is the sergeants. I think he has 6 units of them, high period infantry, and then he's brought some early period infantry behind that. He's got a few units of the dismounted chevalier. For his archers, he's brought 4 units of crossbow sergeants, so they are high period. You can see some of them having chainmail and others having the padded or cloth armor. For his pole arms, he's brought, I believe, 4 units of the Vulgier, or the Vulgier. Again, for any of my French viewers, you can definitely give me the correct pronunciation, but I believe it's something like maybe the L is actually silent, so Vulgier, or Vulgier? Not 100% sure, but anyways, medium polearm infantry, very poor missile block, so he's going to have to be careful to keep them away from enemy archers. But his best infantry is at the back. He's got a few units of the dismounted chevalier, but this is a heavy shock infantry unit. Some deciding to fight with two-handed swords, and some fighting with massive polearms. And right at the back here, he has the Duke's bodyguard, and I believe he is this one, right next to the flag there. So that is the Duke of Burgundy. He's also brought a catapult, and I forgot to mention right at the front he has a great bombard. And he's brought 3 units of cavalry all on the flanks here. He's brought Chevalier for his cav, high period cavalry, and they've all got kind of the Duchy of Burgundy's coat of arms there on the side of the horse armor. So that is it for Adrian Fox's army, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next attacker. The next attacking army on the battlefield today is the Kingdom of England, commanded by myself, and I've also brought a great bombard to the battlefield. I've got it right in the front lines with the crew kind of protected by the ram, and on my siege towers, and I've got a few other units off the siege towers kind of being held in reserve. I've got 8 units total of the high period sergeants for England. And then my most elite infantry here is the Foot Knights. These guys look awesome. I believe it's one of the new units available for England in the new patch. But, yeah, very close to the Duchy of Burgundy's dismounted chevalier. It is a heavy shock infantry unit. For my archers, I've gone for retinue longbowmen of the high period. And then these are my extra sergeants that I've got in reserve. I've got some knights for my cavalry. I've brought 2 units of them. And then I brought some billmen as well. I've got 4 units of the heavy billmen. And, of course, I've got the King's bodyguard. There is the King of England, who wants to get France completely under his control, and I love how he's got a mix of the French and English coat of arms, almost like, look, I'm even wearing your colors. Like, that's how much I am ready to rule France as the King of England. So, very, very cool. I've also got this extra little detachment here, and this is the Black Prince and his forces that have been brought to the battlefield, so I've kind of got a commander sub-commander thing going on. Unfortunately, the Black Prince is missing his helmet skin with the new update, so it looks like he just has a peacock kind of stuck in his feather there, or stuck in his head. But yeah, so the Black Prince is here, and he's also got a few units of sergeants and billmen. And the last units that I do have are my spears, which I actually did have them over here because I was worried about enemy cavalry, but now I'm moving them back into position with my army. So I've got 3 units of those spears. And that rounds out my force, so let's go ahead and take a look at the defenders. The first defending army on the battlefield today is the County of Flanders, commanded by Archmage, and Flanders is begrudgingly defending their settlement from England. I think they'd much rather just throw open the doors and allow England to conquer the city peacefully, but unfortunately the French have left a pretty sizable garrison within the settlement, so the Flemish have no choice but to back the French in their struggle against the English. But taking a look at the French forces, they've got the Brotherhood of St. George Hookendals, or Hookendals? Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce it. But they're medium polearm infantry. He's got several of them kind of scattered all in and around the settlement in good strategic positions. He's also got some Flemish Huttendas as well. He's brought some pikemen, some Flemish pikemen. He's got his dismounted Flemish men-at-arms, which I think is one of my favorite looking men-at-arms units for the Flemish. Really, really love the colors. Some are green and white, some are blue and yellow. We've got red and white over here. So really nice mix of the coats of arms and such. So yeah, we've got a few units of them. If we zoom over to this side, we've got some more... Oh, actually, we haven't seen them before. The Brewers Guild pikemen. Looking really solid. Heavy pike infantry. We've got some more Flemish pikemen here. We've got the Brotherhood of St. George. We've got some Flemish spear militia. Heavy spear infantry. They don't really look too much like militia. They're pretty solid. Pretty solid unit. And, oh, sorry, I almost passed over these guys. The dismounted Flemish knights. Really awesome. Just look at that. Really cool colors there. Very heavily armored, just the moon in the backdrop. Absolutely stunning. But let's continue on with the army comps here. I'm getting distracted. We've got some more dismounted Flemish men-at-arms. They brought the Brotherhood of St. George crossbowmen and some Flemish bowmen. And I think that is just about it for their forces. He also does have a few units of the Flemish knights coming through here. Also looking very cool. And I think that does round out his army. We'll take a look at the general in the city center because it's with the French garrison. So that's it for the Flemish player. So let's go ahead and take a look at the French defenders. The final defending army on the battlefield today is the Kingdom of France, commanded by Lance the Strategist, and the French only have about 8 units, or about 1,000 men within the city. The king and his army are still a few hours away, so they're actually not going to make it for the battle begin. They're going to have to rush to try to get across this bridge and support the Flemish before the city falls. But most of the French units are within the city center. They don't want to spill the royal French blood just yet. They want the Flemish and their army to kind of soak up most of the damage on the wall, and then hopefully the French will be able to hold. But they've got a few units of sergeants of the high period here. They've got some Picushin as well, some good pikes. We've got some arbaletiers, high period crossbows here. And then we've got the sub-commander here, or the garrison commander, Sergeant Monet. So this is just a heavy melee cavalry unit. And then we've got the Flemish, the Count's bodyguard here. So there is the Count of Flanders, looking very nice. So he's held back with the French garrison inside the city. And now let's run over here and take a look at the King's army. We've got some arbaletiers over here as well. We've got more sergeants of the high period just trying to get into position. And I think that's basically it. A lot of sergeants. He's also brought some axe sergeants here too. These guys look really cool. And of course we've got the glorious King of France himself. And there he is. You can see him on the left-hand side in between the standard bearer and the torchbearer with his glistening helmet. So he is not going to allow the King of England to stomp over Flanders this easily. He's also got some Pavessois du Commune, some basically commune spearmen. But that is it for his army. So will he be able to make it in time to save the city, or will the city fall to the hands of Burgundy and England? We will find out in just a minute. Alright guys, welcome to the battlefield, and as you can see, we've got the Flemish knights pouring out of the city, and they are coming after my forces, the Kingdom of England, and I'm quickly moving my cavalry over to my flanks to kind of defend them a little bit better. I don't know which way the Flemish knights are coming from, but we've also got some of the Sergeant Monet, the 2 melee cavalry units for Lance the Strategist. They actually were hiding over here in the trees, and it's a very coordinated attack. So I'm quickly getting my spears set up. I pushed my foot knights in to kind of aid in case we do get a charge from that French cavalry. But Azrian Fox, he was very well defended, so I guess they didn't decide to go for him. I'm quickly coming over here to try and defend my retinue longbows with my knights. But it looks like they are just going to charge in. I'm quickly going to have to pull my archers back because you can see they are just a little ways in front of my knights. But there we go, a nice counter charge from my knights. And that will hold them back, and quickly charging in with my foot knights right afterwards. Got to pull those archers back, though. You can see that they are actually still in melee. There we go, another huge hit. Now we've got the Flemish knights fighting with the English knights, but I've got a bit more cavalry over here on this side. You can see I'm flanking around with Edward the Black Prince himself. And over here, yeah, I was able to focus down that cavalry unit with my retinue longbows, and now I'm quickly moving them back to support other areas of the battlefield. And unfortunately for Lance, he had a misclick here, and he actually dismounted his cavalry. So now they are quickly trying to get back to the settlement on foot, but they're all the while being harassed by my retinue longbows. Let's go back and take a look at this battle here. Oh my goodness, yeah, probably getting a lot of friendly fire. That's not really necessary. But I think I had pushed my billmen into the battle as well. Just trying to overwhelm them with my forces since my army is so close by. It's a nice moonlit night for the battle. I've been really into a couple of things lately as far as 12-12 battles. I'm loving the high and early period battles only. Too many times people usually bring like the best that is available to them. Really high money battles, a lot of late period units. But the truth of the matter is you really didn't see that ever in historical battles. And I know it's just a game, but the historical battles really don't mean that much. But it's nice to see some of these units, high period and early period, that don't really get shown off that much because there has been a lot of work going into the models of the earlier period units as well. But these Flemish knights have broken, however they haven't shattered, so they could return. I'm just moving my knight unit up just a bit. Also over here, I'm so impressed with this unit of Flemish knights. They are completely surrounded and they are still holding strong. They will not break. But Edward the Black Prince, he is in this battle as well. I've also got some sergeants over here. You can see that I've charged into the mix. Just anything and everything to overwhelm them. Overwhelm them by sheer force. And yeah, enemy units being rallied and returned to the battle. That is that cavalry unit there, the Flemish Knight unit. But other than that, everything seems to be going pretty well. The bombardment phase is well underway. You can see most of the towers have been destroyed. And check this out. We've actually got that cavalry unit that had dismounted. They were not allowed back inside the city. The Flemish were just not allowing the French cavalry to get off scot-free, so they have to charge back into the English forces. And unfortunately, the retinue longbows are probably just going to open up on them. Oh, and look at this! Oh yes, we've got the bombard firing point-blank range into these guys. Huge hits there. That's actually slowed them down just a little bit. They're going to try and pick it up once again. Getting a couple of hits there. Nothing too good, though. And there we go. Oh, my goodness. That is the King of England there. You can actually see him. Nice charge by the King of England, just seeing off that French cavalry. Absolutely destroying them. So look at that. With that one charge, the King of England got 49 kills. Well done to him. But now he's kind of got to get out of this line of fire. The last thing I want to do is kill my own general. And now he is going to just retreat back behind the lines of his soldiers. This is a good king. This is a king that wouldn't ask his men to do anything that he wouldn't do himself. But now the Black Prince, he's reforming his contingent here. A couple of his men are a little bloodied up. You can see the billmen have lost a couple of men here and there. His sergeant's still very healthy, and the Black Prince himself with 15 kills and no losses to his unit whatsoever. So there he is. That cracks me up. I'm sure they'll fix that in the next update or so. There's just a couple of missing models. But there we go. Finally broke that Flemish Knight unit. And now we are starting to push up the siege towers. And for Azrian, it's been pretty quiet so far. You can see he's got a few units of cavalry that are moving up, but I don't think the defenders have any more cavalry at this point that they're willing to send out. I believe, actually, it might just be the Flemish general who's within inside the city. No, we've actually got the French cavalry, so this would be the sub-commander, the garrison commander. So he's come up to make sure that the Flemish are going to hold up their end of the bargain and hold these walls to the bitter end. But look at this. We've got the siege... What is this? The bastion catapult here. It's actually firing on my siege towers, and that one hit actually gave it 50% fire damage. But I do get a good snipe there, and luckily shattered that catapult crew, so I won't be losing any of my towers. Because I brought medium-sized siege engines as well. I think they're a little bit faster than the larger siege towers or the heavy siege towers. But we got Azrian moving up here with the Duchy of Burgundy. He's got his spears in front just to ward off from any enemy cavalry, because keep in mind we actually can't see most of these units within the city. I think he does see this unit of Flemish pikemen, though. They are going to be a tough unit to take out. These pikemen can hold these choke points all day long. The only thing that's going to break them is probably archer fire, so if he can get his crossbows up to the choke point and begin firing down onto them, I don't believe their missile block is too good. And then also getting cavalry in from behind. But the only way that's going to happen is if I kind of wrap up my battle, and then I'll be able to move in and then hit those Flemish pikes. But yes, so basically for the French army, they're not allowed to start moving towards the city until we are on the walls. But look at this. So the Black Prince, he knows... Well, the King of England knows, as well as the Black Prince does, about the French king coming in with a relief force for Flanders. Like, he's got scouts. He knows what's going to happen. So basically what the Black Prince and his little detachment are going to do is they're going to move to that bridge, and they're going to try and cut off the French reinforcements and hopefully delay them long enough that the English can take the city. Because if the French and their elite army get inside the city, it's going to be that much more difficult for the King of England and the Duchy of Burgundy to capture the city. So they are headed across the water now. Just a few units. It's only 5 units. I'd say it's 2, 4, 6, 8, about 900 men that are going to be tasked with holding back probably about 3,500 to 4,000 men. But that is a story for later in the video, so we'll take a look at that as it unfolds. But we are just about to get our sergeants to the walls here. I've got my high period sergeants. I really like their missile block. It's 40, and then if you can get them into shield wall, it gives an extra 20. So that is not too bad at all. Oh, but yes, there we go. So remember how I said I thought I was safe from my siege towers, and that all of them are going to make it to the walls? Well, oh... that just did not happen. I'm quick timing these men to the floor off that siege tower before it does collapse. But yeah, you can see that they've got a catapult set up nicely right there to go after my siege towers. So yeah, quickly rushing them off the tower. If it does collapse with men inside, we will actually lose some of the unit that is still trapped within it. So you can see if I zoom in there, you can see the men frantically trying to get out of the tower. I would not want to be one of these last ones here, but there we go. It did collapse, but I think only 2 men died there. Yeah, I've still got 158 men, so that definitely could have been much worse than it actually was. So I was really happy to see that. And there we go. I've got my sergeants coming up onto the walls now, and they are starting to fight the dismounted Flemish knights. Unfortunately, though, they're already shaken because for some reason we actually have some of the Flemish knights that have gotten in behind my men, and it's causing a bit of a morale debuff to them as they come up off the walls, or off the tower, sorry. And the other thing I'm worried about too is there should be some pretty nice archers over here. I thought they did have some archers. Oh yes, there they are. So he's bringing up some of his Flemish bowmen there, so they probably will be able to get some good flanking fire from the ground up onto my men. But look at that, dismounted Flemish men-at-arms with 157 men. they are breaking my sergeants. They're already wavering. So that was pretty frustrating to see. But let's go ahead and take a look at how Azrian is doing over here. Yeah, so he's got his spear sergeant set up, but he isn't moving in just yet, which is good. And is he going after this gate? Yeah, he's trying. Looks like with the spear sergeants formed up here, they've kind of blocked the ram. I'm sure he will figure that out in just a second. But look at this, we've actually got some crossbow sergeants that are moving up onto the walls first. So I'm not sure if Azrian was expecting there to be units on the walls, but we've actually got some dismounted Flemish knights up here. And these crossbow sergeants are definitely shaken, and I do not blame them. And even more men being poured up onto the walls here. And there we go, another siege tower has made it to the walls. We've got some more of the sergeants coming down to challenge the Flemish. Got another siege tower in the center here, ready to disembark as well. Oh, maybe not. Maybe yes. Now, this is a little bit risky for Flanders to have so many units on the walls. However, I think Azrian has used up most of his ammo. He's got his catapult left. But, yeah, his Great Bombard, I mean, I think he is going to try and get a breach over in this section of the wall. But he's probably not going to be able to get a breach over here, especially now that he's pushed his men up onto the walls as well. It'd just be too risky to trap his men and not be able to get them off. Because if he makes a hole right here, there's no other way for them to get off, because once you break these towers that are on top of the walls, you cannot access these ground points here. So the only other one is here. So just keep that in mind when you guys are playing sieges as well. Make sure there's always an opening for your men to get off the walls before you just go making choke points or blowing holes in walls every which way. Well, look at this. We've got some of the Picushin, which is the French pike unit. So it looks like they have moved outside of the city, and they are going to help defend the outer walls with the Flemish. But the city has started to kind of catch fire. I think that's thanks to Azrian's catapult. So hopefully we will see up here the settlement damage increase, and then that will effectively lower their morale and their skill or prowess in battle. But I've got my archers up on the walls here now. I've got my retinue longbowmen, if I can get a good shot of them there. So there they are. And we are being fired upon by the Flemish bowmen, but I'm really trying to focus down these Hoogtendas because I really don't have any pike units that are going to be able to challenge them. My billmen should be fine against the Hoogtendas, but against those Flemish pikemen, no, there's no way. The billmen will definitely lose out there. So my longbowmen are going to be very crucial in this engagement. And I think I do try to get a few units up onto the walls. But yeah, there's the Flemish bowmen there. Just raining their arrows down on me. And yes, actually they do at one point start to fire on my general. The English king getting a little bit too close to the walls there, so I've got to push him back and out of harm's way. And here we go. I've also got another unit of retinue longbows here. Going to fire point blank through the gate at these Hoogtendas, who have already lost about 10 men. So not too bad. And I'm seeing some crossbow movement up there, though, so that is a little worrisome. We've got the Avaletier from France. Luckily, the retinue longbowmen, they are a pretty solid unit, so I'm not too worried about losing them early on in the fight. They've got decent stats, you can see. So even in melee, they're pretty solid with 25 melee attack and 37 melee damage. Good morale. But yeah, these Flemish bowmen here, you can see, yeah, both my units are wavering on the walls. And I think that's just from them being fired upon in the backs. Oh, look at this rock, too, covered in blood as it fell off on a bunch of bodies here. That is pretty gruesome. Yeah, one unit holding us back really well here. It looks like we got some of the Brothers of St. George from the County of Flanders coming up. And then they just are like, nope, never mind. I think he realizes that I'm trying to focus his pike units down with my human, so he's going to try and stay out of range there. Very, very good. And yeah, I'm trying to hit this catapult with my human as well, but he's just out of range. Let's go ahead and take a look at what Azrian is doing. So he's just pushing some of his dismounted chevalier up onto the walls, and that should definitely help turn the tide with these Flemish knights, or these Flemish men-at-arms, sorry, because now they're kind of surrounded. You can see they're almost pushed back to the edge of the wall here. I would love if CA invented a mechanic where if the walls get too crowded like this, that some actually get pushed off the walls. You could see a couple of body parts falling off there. But if actual men were pushed right to the edge and then you'd see a couple of them just falling off every once in a while, that would be amazing. Really good immersion. Well, the Flemish are desperate to hold here. Desperate. And actually, since we are on the walls, we may start to see the army of France moving very shortly. But we've got our little interception force hidden in the trees here. So I don't think Lance knows about this just yet, but I think he will soon. The scouts of the king who have ridden ahead to get news of the battle, they will probably sight this and then have to tell the King of France to hurry his forces quicker, because it's basically a game of who's going to get there first. Because if the Black Prince and his units can hold this gate, or hold this bridge, sorry, then that's going to delay a lot of reinforcements from getting inside the city. And at this point, the defenders are hopelessly outnumbered. It's about 30 defending units to 60 attacking units. So those reinforcements are needed, definitely needed. And look at this over here. We've got some firing into the backs of the dismounted chevalier. Luckily, a lot of the shots are missing, I believe. They don't really have the best angle. Yeah, Azrian's being very calm over here, not engaging these Flemish pikemen. He knows that it will be folly. But there we go. He has opened a breach over here, and I'm pouring my cavalry into the city as quickly as possible. I've also got some sergeants over here that are going to block off any of these units from reinforcing the battle. And yes, so I think the French and Flanders players notice this right away, and they're quickly trying to get their units into position. I charged this unit of knights over, but I wasn't watching it, unfortunately. And look at this, they get their Hutendas down just in time to really give it to my cavalry. That was an awful charge on my part there. So yeah, I'm going to have to get that unit out of there. I know I always say that it's rarely good to pull your cavalry out of there, but in that situation, and with these spears coming up to help as well, I'd rather have a very depleted unit that can still do some damage on the battlefield than to just leave them in there and get slaughtered completely. I also got a decent charge on these Flemish spear militia. They were in spear wall, but I really needed to break through to kind of get behind these pikemen for Azrian. So I tried to charge. I killed 9 men, and I also lost 6 of my own knights. So not really too good of a trade-off, but now I've got to figure out what exactly I'm going to do here. I've also got some spears coming in, and I'm starting to bring in my first units of the... what are these called again? Heavy billmen. I thought it was... Yeah, there we go. I'm starting to bring in some of my heavy infantry, the foot knights. So let's go ahead and see this battle over here. Got the Brotherhood of St. George challenging my sergeants. And that's so awesome, too. You can see, like, the fight up on the walls, and then we've got the fight happening down in the streets as well. But I'm going to push in some of my own billmen. My billmen should help turn the tide against the Brothers of St. George. I think the billmen, their bills are a little bit longer than these halberds. There we go. Look at them forcing their way through and pushing the whole unit back. Who's breaking and running for their lives? Probably my units on the front walls, maybe? Who's this? That's some Flemish Hodenthals. Oh yeah, that's right. The Flemish player actually did a very bold charge out at this point, and he locked some of my retinue longbowmen in melee, so I quickly had to charge forwards my spears to lend aid there. But the Flemish Hodenthals, the one unit that charged out, did get wiped out. Unfortunately, my retinue longbowmen down to half strength here, though, so that's really tough to see. But here we go. Now we've got the units moving out of the tree line, and I think the King of France has started his movement forwards as well. He will very shortly, I believe. But just look at this French army, and if we actually turn off the HUD here, just look forwards. So the city is very far in the background there. I was kind of hoping to see some catapult fire there, but nevertheless, the French army is quickly moving forwards. We've got the King of France, who is actually going to ride ahead of his army because he is the only cavalry unit, and try and claim this bridge for his own, and therefore block the Black Prince from being able to intercept his entire army. But over here, I mean, it looks like we've kind of conquered the walls at this point, at least on my side. And over here, we were finally able to get behind that pike unit, and now Azarine is able to pour his men into the settlement. I think I did lose one of my cavalry units, though. I do have the second one, though, the 64 men in that unit. And I'm trying to charge this unit of Brotherhood of St. Sebastian spearmen with my foot knights, but they are quickly trying to retreat. And we've got some Flemish Hodenthals back here that are holding the line, and my foot knights will probably lose that engagement, so Azarine advised me to pull off just at the last minute. No sense in throwing lives away for no reason. We've got crossbows with full ammo, so that's what they'll be used for, just picking apart those Hodenthals and the Flemish pikemen. But even though there's so many units from the Duchy of Burgundy inside the settlement, these Flemish units will not break from the walls. They are holding strong. Look at that, more French units pouring into the settlement. There we go, you can see a head falling off the wall there. Well done, well done. So let's go ahead and see what's going on over here. So yes, the Black Prince sees that the King of France is going so quickly. He's charging ahead, running at full tilt to try and cut off the Black Prince. So now the Black Prince is going to do the same thing. He's a cavalry unit as well, so on horseback he does make it to the bridge first, and now the King of France has to decide what he's going to do. Is he going to charge into these 4 units and hope that that'll slow me down enough and keep me out of position enough that the rest of his army arrives? Or is he just going to allow us to form up and then have to deal with us once the bulk of his forces arrive? We've got the Sergeants of the High Period and some heavy billman units here. And I think you will see my formation. I've kind of got this little U formation here set up. But look at this, we've actually got the Flemish general coming out of the city here to try and drive the Black Prince away. Oh man, such a nice unit. Yeah, so if we kind of zoom in across the bridge there, you can see the Flemish standard. So the Flemish units are going to try and block the Black Prince from even getting out of this trap. And look at this, he is charging in okay, good. I was going to say that's a very risky move there. But here we go, charging into the sergeants. And now he's going to try and escape, but I just charged the Black Prince out and lock him in here. However, the French infantry is very close at hand, and I'm quickly moving my sergeants over to try and form some sort of battle line so that at least my billmen can get into position to block this bridge. So there we go. My poor sergeants, they have to sacrifice themselves against the overwhelming French numbers. Yeah, just look at that. And there we go. The Black Prince, he did pull off, and he's forced the bodyguard back into the city center. And they have set up some pikemen as well to guard, but I have no intention of going inside the settlement here. I'm just going to form up my troops and hope to hold them off as long as possible. We've got some Pavoisois de Camine coming in as well. We've got the axe sergeants just destroying my sergeants. And now the Black Prince is going to move out now that the way is secure. And we're going to try and get a nice rear charge on these spears. But a very epic engagement here. Here we go. Nice charge. Yeah, huge hit there. And then we've got another cycled charge from the King of France moving in as well. So the King of France is not sitting back. He is up there in the front lines with his men. Down to 34 men, though, with 58 kills. He's got to be careful not to lose the king this early on. But I see that my sergeants are starting to waver, and Edward the Black Prince is in the thick of it. So I'm going to start moving out one of my units of heavy billmen to maybe lend some aid. And this unit is going to stay facing this way. So that means that the Count of Flanders will not be able to help out in this engagement at all. Going back into the city fight here, we've got my knights just running down some depleted units of Flemish spear militia. Over here as well, I believe I have my heavy billmen going toe-to-toe with the French sergeants here. And you can see the Flemish also have some pikemen over in the far corners there. I'm actually forming up this unit of knights to see if I can kind of flank around them. Yeah, some of them did get through, but others are being cut down by the corner units. There we go. Push, push, push. Yeah, so getting most of my unit through here, which is really nice to see. Got to be careful, though, because these units that are getting caught and having to pull through, it's actually making the units start to waver. So that is not good. But I wanted to get a good charge into the backs of this Picushin unit from France. And it looks like they actually lost their pikes. But there we go. They did get them out just in time to kind of nerf that charge. That was actually a pretty terrible charge there. But let's go over to this fight and see what's happening. So we're still delaying the French from reinforcing the city. And unfortunately, this unit of sergeants had broken and returned to the battle. But now the towers are firing down at them. But yes, the plan is working so far, but they're slowly breaking our resolve. You can see over here that these poor billmen are starting to get surrounded. This second unit really isn't in as good of a position. And Edward the Black Prince is quite bloodied up. You can see he was wavering there. I've pulled him out of the engagement, and he is going to return to the king and let him know that this did not work. He was not able to hold back the French, and that they will soon be entering the city center. There we go. My brave English units leaving the battlefield. Also being fired upon by the arbaletiers of the Royal Army. No mercy for these Englishmen. This second unit is alright. I'm going to try and reform them to hold a little bit longer. However, the only problem is that these arbaletiers are probably just going to shoot me to death. They're not going to charge their heavy infantry in there for any reason. The French have already lost a few men, I would say. Like, they've lost, 10 or 20 in a few units. The King of France down to half strength, though. That's a little bit concerning. And actually, these axe sergeants down to half strength as well. But yes, you can see the Black Prince over here. Let's jump into his view. You can see that he is rushing back. He is still alive, luckily. He managed to escape that unscathed. However, most of his unit has been destroyed. And now he's going to meet with the English king here. And the English king is going to hear the report of the battle, and then he's going to have to head back into the city and tell his men that they are running out of time. He needs to spur his men forwards. So there we go. Back to the city they go. But very nice that Edward the Black Prince was able to survive. And if we take a look at Asrian's side, who we've neglected for a bit of time here, he's actually pushing towards the center. He's doing very well with his units here. He's got some sergeants of the High Period and some spear sergeants taking on the Flemish spear militia. But the battle is heated over here, that's for sure. And I think that sounded like some catapult fire. So he must have his catapult inside the city. He does, yes. And what is he firing at? I think he's just trying to cause some more buildings to light up. Maybe lower the morale a little bit more. The settlement damage is only 1% at this point, so that is not bad for the defenders at all. There we go. That might cause something to light up.
Men are running, cowards!
Nope, doesn't look like it. Yeah, but if all of this catches light, then that's going to be very bad for the defenders. That would probably bring the settlement damage maybe up to 10%. And yes, over here with this unit, you can see that there's quite a bit of space between them here, so I'm going to try and do the exact same thing with this knight unit and just sneak through as best as I can. But unfortunately, just the end caught on the Brewers Guild pikemen, and I'm going to have to pull that unit away, because now they're challenging pikemen head-on. So I'll probably just continue to focus them down with my my retinue longbows. Oh, but here we go. Yes, so I'm glad I caught this. This unit of heavy billmen was holding all alone, and I saw the Flemish general starting to come up to get a good rear charge on this unit and break it, and I turned them around just in time. And now check this out, guys. The Flemish general is abandoned by his unit, and my billmen are just forcing him back towards the center. I'm completely ignoring the fact that the French are attacking me from behind, and I'm really, really trying to kill this Flemish general very, very hard. Look at that, he's getting hit a number of times. And look at that, he was just able to escape to the rest of his units. So Asrian and I were watching this, and we were pretty frustrated to see that he got away. And now what I'm trying to do is just form them up in their formation with their backs to the house. But unfortunately, they start to waver, so it looks like that is the last part of this defense. But we managed to delay them for about 6 or 7 minutes with 4 units, so not too bad. Unfortunately, though, a lot of English lives lay... Well, they're dead, basically. A lot of English lives have been lost, is a better way to say that. But look at all the unit here from the Black Prince. So once he got caught in there by some of the units of spears, he definitely lost a lot of men. And now the river of French soldiers just rush towards the city center, hoping to not be too late, hoping to not see the English. And their flags raised up in the Flemish town center. And let's get a little update over here on how close we are. Look how close this is coming to you guys. I've got my unit of knights. We finally broke that unit of Brewers Guild pikemen, and I'm quickly trying to get over here to block them again. So if I can get some more of my foot knights and my spears over here and create a bit of a testudo and block these units from even entering the settlement, then we will be able to take the town center. So I was quickly rushing my knights over, but unfortunately they broke. So I'm going to try and get my foot knights and my bombard crew and my spears over there. But what I don't see is they've actually got a little bit of a formation here. So well done to the defenders with their battlefield awareness. Yeah, there you go. You can see he's moving some of the French pikes down to ensure that his units get into the city center and help the poor battered Flemish. Who, look, they've got some dismounted Flemish knights here. Brotherhood of St. George. But I think that's basically all they have in the Count's bodyguard. Maybe a couple of units behind here. But yeah, the Flemish have paid for it with thousands of lives holding the settlement. And they are still paying for it now. You can see we've got the Brotherhood of St. Sebastian spearmen holding back the horde of Burgundian infantry and heavy knights here. Oh, a couple of them being thrown to the ground there. Is he going to try and get up? Looks like he's still alive. Not sure. Oh, yeah, he's getting up. Good on them there. But, yeah, there we go. Looks like... What is this? We've got some more dismounted Flemish knights being charged into the mix. I think he thought that the spear unit would hold for longer. Otherwise, he probably would have kept that unit for the city center. But I'm just charging my foot knights through. Unfortunately, they are being destroyed by the enemy crossbows. Look at the amount of kills they are getting on my poor knights. Oh my goodness, just cutting them down. And then the spears about to send in another foot knight unit to try and overwhelm these spears quickly. But this is the last defense that they have before the city center itself. But that's not a problem for them. They've just got a huge influx of reinforcements here. We've got a bunch of sergeant units. We've got some more of the Pavisois de Camine. And what else do we have here? Sergeants of arms, heavy melee infantry. So yeah, we're not getting through here. They made it in time. However, the balance of power is looking pretty good for us. We've still got 5,800 men, and they have just over 4,000. With 12 minutes left in the battle, you can see that the king is within the city limits now, and I believe the Black Prince is up here. He's been put in charge of the frontline assault, so he's commanding things from the front line. But there we go, yeah. Heavy losses on my foot knight unit, but we still managed to just destroy those spears as they tried to retreat to the town center. And now we've got some of the French units, the sergeants. In a way, we kind of really helped ourselves out here because all of these reinforcements from the French that are coming in, they're very tired from having to run that far. And then they had a battle over here, and then they ran even further again. But Lance over here, he hasn't brought the King of France into the city center just yet. He's kind of holding him back in reserve, making sure that if this city does fall to the English, maybe he will be able to escape it alive. But yeah, this starts to become a total kill zone here. This is a really solid defense for the Kingdom of France with their axe sergeants in here, just shattering my spears. Now the foot knights are moving in. But I've got my billmen. The billmen have proved very useful in this siege, especially against the enemy melee infantry like these sergeants here. There we go. The billmen are just going to start to force their way through and lend some aid to these poor foot knights. My archers are trying to focus this unit in behind as well, this pike unit, because now they're bringing up some of their pikes to lend a hand against my billmen. Let's look at Azrian's fight over on this side. So he's got all of his crossbows set up, and they're getting some good shots into these units of French infantry. You can see they're in a really disadvantageous position because they're fighting up on this hilltop. So Azrian is able to fire his crossbows right at these swordsmen without taking much friendly fire whatsoever. Let's go ahead and go back to K here. I'm loving these cinematic shots here, especially the night battles. You don't see too many night battles on YouTube. There we go. We've got a charge and a counter charge from the French units. Some more of the Duchy of Burgundy's forces moving up the slopes. And just look at the battle over here. Look how many French are in this one area. My goodness. Yeah, they've got a lot of reinforcements here, guys. A lot. Look at all these units that are just resting up here, not even in use. Should have saved our catapult ammo for now. But well done to the defenders as well. Azrian trying to sneak a few units around. He also had a unit of Chevalier that was going to try and get in from behind. But unfortunately, the Pavasois de Commune and the Axe Sergeants over here have formed a nice wall. So it's going to be tough for Azrian to get in behind here. And let's see how things are going over on this side. Yeah, again, kind of a kill zone. I mean, my pikemen, or sorry, my billmen versus their pikemen. Their pikemen are probably going to do a little bit better than my billmen will. However, the foot knights seem to do a reasonable job against them. And I've also got my spears kind of as a secondary line. Gotta be careful, though. I think that's the reason I've had my spears over here as well. It's because I'm quickly running out of infantry that's near enough to support in the battle. So you can see these are my last reserves here. I'm quickly moving them up because I realize I'm going to need it. And this unit over here, I did charge them up onto the walls because I thought I would be able to capture these towers from being up on the walls. But Azrian let me know that that is not the case, so I will move them down off the walls shortly. But how is Azrian looking for you? I mean, he's got a lot of reserves as well. I think my army is more banged up than his is, because this is all I have left, and you can see that most of them were units that were fighting on the walls until just now. You can see, if I get a hold of them, they're still very tired. So we had a couple of units of Flemish swords that were fighting on these walls until just about 2 minutes ago, which was absolutely incredible. I had no idea why they would not break, but they held for like 45 minutes. It was pretty crazy. And I think the same on Azrian's side as well. He had a couple of units that just would not break. Those Flemish, man. Yeah, my units are getting destroyed right now. You can see that my depleted units are just exhausted by the time they reach the top of the city center here, and the overwhelming French numbers. There's just so many of them. You can barely tell who are not the French units here. It's just probably 800 to 1,000 French units just packed into this one area, forcing us back down the slopes. Let's actually take a look at it from the French perspective here. Yeah, my units were just breaking and then returning to the fight, and I just send them right back in, even though they're exhausted. Just keep throwing bodies at these choke points. And yeah, my billmen, unfortunately, are starting to waver here. They also have their axe sergeants in here, which are doing a number on them. Their pikemen are well protected behind their lines. And look at this, now my spear sergeants are having to hold. And just with that charge from the pikemen and the axe sergeants, I've lost quite a few men, because that was a full unit when I first brought it up. Show them how real men fight. Yeah, really tough fight over here. This was actually one of the hardest choke points. I wasn't even sure if I'd be able to get through that with the amount of men I had left. I do have 4 units of fresh foot knights, but I mean, the balance of power is still definitely with us with 4,500 men to 2,800, but they still got a lot of crossbows here that aren't really doing too much. They could definitely focus down a lot of these units and just see them off the battlefield for good. Same thing over here with Azrian. He's got his dismounted Chevalier. They're full units. Haven't even seen melee yet. And they're just kind of sitting here. Like, they've got all these crossbows that should be able to fire down on them. However, the crossbows, as I think I've said to you guys before, in the new update, they really don't have any arcing ability anymore. So you kind of need to get a straight shot at them if you're going to have any hopes of getting kills. So you can see this one's obstructed. It's because there's nothing really within the line of fire that they can fire at. You'd almost have to be out where these units of sergeants are. They could probably shoot at them as they come around the corner. Well, let's see how Azrian is doing over here. It looks like we had a little bit of a sally out here from Archmage, the Count's bodyguard, really hitting that unit of dismounted Chevalier hard and actually breaking it while wavering it. Over here we've got the axe sergeants from France that have been broken by the Duke's bodyguard. And now they're just surrounding these spearmen here. You can see there's just a little bit of blue packed in with all this pink here. Right at the edge of this house. If I was one of these units, I'd be like, whoop, and I'd just dip right into that house. I'd be gone. I'm such a coward. I would not want to be fighting. Like, it's cowardly, but is it really? Like, who thinks that they're going to win against all of this cav? Like, it's just not going to happen. And look at this, the cowardly Count here. Although, I guess because it's French units, he just doesn't really care that much. But he's going to get back into the safety of the town center and leave these Pavazois to just die at the hands of the Duke of Burgundy. And here we go. That's right. I've got my general's bodyguard over here. I forgot about this. I actually ran him all the way around the city. And because I saw that they weren't actually defending the opening there, I was able to charge into those pikemen and then get a really nasty charge on the backs of all of these sergeants here. Just absolutely catastrophic for the French. And that unit of pikemen just broke right away. You can see he's actually trying to lock me in with a unit of spears, but unfortunately they're not going to be able to form up in time, and I get another huge cycle charge with my general here, King's bodyguard. So the King of England is up in the fray, and now his men are like, quick, quick, save the king! And they're like quickly trying to charge through all of these breaking Frenchmen and save the king from these spears. You can see he's down to 15 men, and he actually starts wavering, but I luckily just get him away in time. So yeah, I actually charged him out that far gate, and then I charged him all the way around, and then brought him inside from behind. And they didn't have anything defending here, so that's why I was able to just destroy like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units, and almost a 6th here, because these spears are now locked in melee, unfortunately. And we've got Archmage. He's sending his general in here to try and get a side charge on my units, and he actually did manage to break one of my units of sergeants. But this is a very risky move considering he's already depleted, and he doesn't really have any more forces that can back him up. And we are down to the last 2 minutes of the battle here. Let's go ahead and put it on slow motion. You can see we've got the King of France quickly trying to block the Chevalier from getting a charge on the dismounted Chevalier. And now we've got the infantry locking in the cavalry. We've got a huge hit from Azrian over here. Really nice charge on these sergeants who are not in shield wall. Throwing a lot of them to the ground. And we are just forcing our way up here through brute strength. I've got more of my sergeants and my retinue longbowmen trying to force through the French sergeants. And all of these crossbows, again, just not able to get any good positions to fire down. But, man, these towers are getting a decent amount of kills here on my forces. Also, you can see that they are struggling with the morale. Fire projectiles, -4 morale for my men, so that's not ideal. But I'm going to quickly go over here and try and capture these towers, silencing them for good. But where is the Flemish general here? Where is he? Oh, there he is. There he is right there. Right at the front of that spear line. Oh, wait, no. Is that him? Oh, I thought that was him. Because I don't think... Oh, there he is. My apologies. I thought I saw the yellow feather on that unit over there. But there he is. So that's not too bad. It looks like he's actually taking on one of my foot knight units. And he is pretty bloodied up. He's going to have to be careful. I don't want to miss too much else of what Azrian's doing over here, though. He's really pushing hard with his cavalry. Yeah, and the Duke's bodyguard just shattering that sergeant unit. Well done there. The King of France is locked in combat now. There's no way he's going to be able to escape. And there we go. It looks like they are breaking. Oh, and there is the... If you guys can see that in the mix of all those men... There he is, trying to escape once again, and he is locked in melee. Is he going to get away? Oh man, this guy is an elusive little bugger. My goodness.
The enemy tower is no more.
He's just escaping.
Watch what you're doing with that damn sword, you fool.
Oh, he's in the trees there. Not sure if he's going to be taken down or not.
Turning in our favor.
No, it looks like he is going to escape. That sucks. There go those infernal towers finally going down. And now we've got the Royal de France just about to waver as well. 47 seconds left. We've got the tide of my English forces coming up from behind. And we've also got the Duke's bodyguard trying to get into all these archers to make sure they are silenced, because they were definitely ready to open up at these foot knight units as they broke the unit of sergeants. So the English are successful in their attack of the city. I think it is down to the Black Prince, though, in his sacrifice, or his men's sacrifice, that is, delaying the French reinforcements enough that they weren't able to help initially on the outer walls. If we take a look at the man count just before it ends, 3,800 left to 600. So we lost probably 2/3 of our force just fighting mainly on those walls against the Flemish. So if the French were there, it may have been a very different story. But there we go, a close victory. Let's take a look at the end results here. All right, so looking at my forces here, man, the King of England doing really well, 328 kills. That is a man that is in the front of his army. He's also got good kills on these foot knights. They're a really solid unit. The spear is actually doing pretty good as well. They cut down a lot of the enemy cav early on in the battle. 304 for that Billman unit. 192, 147, 136 for these swords. That's pretty good. My archers doing really well, and my cavalry doing solid. Looking at Azrian's force, 491 kills for the Duke's bodyguards, so doing even better than the king himself. And 396 for the dismounted Chevalier, which is really solid. Some of his units low kills, but it's because they didn't get into melee. And mixed kills on his dismounted Chevalier, 236 on that sergeant unit, well done. High kills on the crossbows and high kills on the cav. Looking at Lance the Strategist, 66 kills for his general, pretty solid. His axe sergeant's doing really well. A couple of his spears units getting good kills, 223 for that Pikushin unit. Let's see. Infantry is a mixed bag. Some doing really well, but some not so much. And those crossbows, unfortunately, they just didn't get into a good enough position. If they had racked up more kills, they may have won the battle as well. And Archmage, 115 for the Count's bodyguards. So really nice to see some high kills on these generals. And then 275 for the Flemish Knights. And dismounted Flemish men-at-arms, over 100, good. Cavalry, yeah, it wasn't really good at the beginning. I mean, this one got 94, which is okay, but these two units were a bit of a throwaway. And then 64 kills on his catapult. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the siege in the 100 Years' War. I mean, it's not an exactly historical battle, but we did try to play it around that time frame. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And as always, I will see you in the next one.